Well, it's hard to say without knowing the numbers and what was used. Initially, the dispersants were used, they were doing aerial spraying. And then they started using deep water injection, spraying the dispersants right at the well site. There's been a lot of controversy about the dispersants, but I think it's because people just don't understand what they are. I mean, dispersants are literally many of the same compounds that you have in household products. If you have grease in a frying pan, you put dishwashing soap in there, stir it up, it becomes a foamy liquid. You can wash it down your drain. That's essentially what dispersants are doing. I think people got very confused and upset because initially when people say, well, what are these dispersants? It was a proprietary compound. So they wouldn't give out the formula. That made people think that there was something very toxic in them. The news reporters picked it up as toxic dispersants. And there was the general feeling is if you have all of this oil being put in the Gulf, why are we adding more chemicals? And I think there's a truly lack of understanding of how you can use some of these things to control the oil spill. But nonetheless, dispersants are a well-established tool for controlling oil spills. The deep sea dispersant is what we don't know very much about, particularly at the depths, the pressures, and the temperature that they're using them. What we do know is when they are using dispersants in that manner, there's much less oil on the surface, which is the principle for using it. So that means much less dispersants actually gets to the shoreline. But the dispersants is going into the water column, and we don't know what's happening there. But they have been effective in that. We do know that when they're used in this deep sea injection, they are using much less dispersant, and that's because they're applying them right at the source, and you don't need as much to get the oil as if you're just spreading it over a wide area and hoping some of that gets to the oil. There are formulas for how many gallons of dispersants to use for the amount of oil that's there. And so to be used correctly, I assume that they're doing the appropriate calculations and using the amount of dispersant that is needed for the oil. I know that they have cut back substantially. Part of that is because in the deep sea use, they don't need to use near as much because they can put it right at the source.